Chaos erupted at the book launch of a book that was published called Gangster State, Unravelling Magashule's Web of Capture by Pieter-Louis Myburgh. Magashule and the ANC have distanced themselves from the violence and the threats that saw many outraged, but by what was felt is trampling on the freedom of speech. The book's author, investigative journalist Pieter-Louis Myburgh Earlier spoke to SABC via Skype.
On the one hand, these kind of books unpack and sort of highlight very concerning issues around governance issues, and then the launch events that go along with the release of such a book are really ideal platforms for people to come and engage about the issues raised in the book. And we really welcome the opportunity to, even those who were critical of the book, to entertain their views and to allow them to contribute to the discussion, especially in the question and answer session. And they, of course, completely rejected that proposal and instead chose to tour through the store and steal, books and tear books. And it was a very disappointing behavior on display from an organization that traditionally actually prides itself in grappling with complex issues in an intellectual manner.
Did you expect this kind of backlash? I mean, this isn't the first time that you've written investigative pieces.
Absolutely, Peter. Yeah, so going back to 2015, we worked on the PRASA corruption, the multi-billion rand train contracts. And that certainly was also met by quite a strong backlash and criticism from people implicated in that issue. This time around, it was certainly raised to a different level. It was quite a vehement attack from the party itself. Of course, we saw that statement on the Sunday, quite a strong and aggressive set of allegations about, myself forming part of some sort of a Stratcom operation. So I think the lack of a logical, satisfactory response from the party has been quite astounding. And then on the public side, the positive thing from all of this is that the public seems to have responded very positively to a book that brings further information that is absolutely in the public interest on the handling of government affairs by senior politicians.
All right, so people, inevitably questioning the timing, and I just wonder if you can help us. This kind of book doesn't happen overnight. How long did you have to investigate it and put it together? Because you would have had to anticipate, I've got to time this so that it gets released on such a date. This has been a long work in progress, I guess.
Yeah, Peter, certainly. The timing issue is now kind of one point of criticism that forms part of these allegations that it's a concerted effort to discredit people in the party or the party itself shortly before the elections. That is not the case. My interest in these particular spheres of government precedes the current election cycle. Anybody with access to Google can go and research my work I've done for News 24 on Mr. Magashule and corrupt networks in the Free State. It goes back to many months before the current election cycle kicked off last year, most prominently. And I always like to counter that accusation of the timing issue by asking people, do they suggest I delay issues that are in the public interest until after the elections to benefit Mr. Magashule or a faction of the ANC, which in itself is very much a political decision too.
All right, so the Secretary General has said that he's considering his legal options. You welcome that? You'd love to get this tested in a court of law?
Yeah, definitely, Peter. It's a well-researched and well-founded piece of, investigative journalism. It goes through the normal legal vetting processes that we put in place when we publish on platforms like News 24, Daily Maverick too. And certainly in that sense, it's something that would stand the test of time or stand against scrutiny in a court of law. I think corruption issues have too infrequently, been playing out in courts of law because of a paralysis in our law enforcement environment. So if there's an opportunity to take these issues and let them play out in a court of law, I think in terms of the public interest and in terms of further exposing and stemming corruption, it would be a certainly most welcomed development from our side.
All right, so then perhaps finally, again, more disappointments that the launch in Cape Town was cancelled. And I suppose some might say that when this kind of thing happens, those that were trying to disrupt it in the first place are perhaps the winners.
Certainly a sad day, I think, for free speech and, our constitutionally enshrined rights to, debate freely and embark on or participate in robust debate. Last week's developments were definitely a bit sad in that regard. Thankfully, with the help of Daily Maverick, Insider, Prime Media, and a couple of other role players in the media sphere, we were able to put together a launch event in Cape Town regardless. And ultimately, society in general needs to ask itself some very tough questions. We have this terrible history in this country where free speech was repressed by a apartheid regime that absolutely detested, anything that was critical of that, of the government of the day, the removal and censorship of books and stifling of free and open speech and open engagements. This is a very sort of concerning trend, last week's events. If you consider that, the ANC itself, ironically, fought so hard to, ensure we put in place a new government and a constitution that protects journalists and protects free speech and allows us to, in a, safe manner, engage in discussions, even if those discussions entail difficult issues for the powers of the day.